Hi, this is Rachelle with Journal Life's Journey, and I'm going to be making a project today using the Your Creative Studio March sub box. And I'm beginning with a 110-pound cardstock. This is a pretty well-known one-page wonder, and I'll put the score measurements in the description box if you're interested in making one of your own. I have also made this previously on the channel. I'll link to that video in the iCard up above. But basically, it is a small little booklet made with cardstock and just one sheet of cardstock. And then you kind of decorate it up. And when you make it, you have a front cover, a back cover, and then the inside pieces create a pocket. Again, I have a video showing how to do this. So this is the base that I'm going to be using with the items from Your Creative Studio. And here I'm just gluing those middle pieces to start creating that pocket on the inside. This is a sub box from Your Creative Studio, and I'm just looking through to see what items I'm going to use. And so I pull out the papers. This is the March 2023 box. It is a bee-themed box. The papers included, I think you get 6 of each: vellum, art paper, stickers, and I think scrapbook paper. So this is a new paper trimmer that I got from Tonic Studios. I didn't realize it when I was using it here that it was missing the plastic guard, which is very important. I have since contacted them, and I was able to get a replacement with the actual guard on it. So I do have the correct version. The missing guard didn't even register until the paper was not cutting straight. And I was like, wait a minute, there's supposed to be something here to hold this paper in place. And that's when I realized, oop, there's no plastic guard on here. It took a minute to get it resolved. I think I received this in mid to late June, and I finally got it resolved recently, and just within the last few days, I got the replacement. So I did get a few stray cuts out of it. And here I'm going ahead and closing up that pocket. I should have done that previously, just kind of forgot to do it. So I'm doing it now and cleaning up the excess glue. And I'm continuing to try and use this paper trimmer to mat. And this is where I'm realizing, oh, this is not cutting straight. So put that away and got out my Fiskars rotary trimmer. It works much better. So I'm going to continue matting the pages. Here, while I'm matting the back side of the pocket, actually right in the middle of it, I decided that I wanted to add some flaps to the top and bottom, so I cut and scored those. And I'm going to add those to the back of the pocket page. And then I continue matting. And now I'm going to add a banker style closure to the two flaps that I added. I use my 1-inch punch to punch two cardstock circles, and I glued those together, and I'm kind of just testing this out using my pokey tool. I poke a hole through the um, the two circles and the flap, and I'm using brads to attach the circles. I'll have a list of the supplies and tools that I use in the description box below. And I'm using some baker's twine from Dollar Tree in yellow to add the string closure. And now I'm going to go ahead and mat the inside of the two flaps after I cover the brads with a little tape just to make sure they stay in place. Also, I'm creating a pocket for the back side of the pocket. So I'm gonna have like a little tuck pocket there. And to reinforce the top edge of the pocket, I added some washi tape. And then I'm continuing with the matting. And I'm using scraps to finish the matting. So I just wanted to add a little bit of a torn edge to fill in the gap there. It kind of gives it a collaged look. So again, I'm using the leftover scraps to mat the flaps on the inside. And I'm going to repeat that on the front cover to fill in the bottom gap. But in this case, it will be a pocket. And I didn't reinforce the edge of this pocket because it has a torn edge. All right, so now I wanted to add a little something more to the back page. So I am going to make an envelope, and I'm just seeing which punch board will have a size similar to the paper from your creative studio. And then I'm going to trim the paper down to the size that I need. I've ended up using the small or mini envelope punch board instead of the regular one to make the envelope, and that's what I'm doing here. So the envelope will be a pocket, and there'll be pocket space behind the envelope, so the envelope will act as a tuck spot. Now I'm going to use one of the sticky notes from the sub box to create a tuck spot, and I'm just going to adhere it to a piece of cardstock. then I'm going to fussy cut around that. Just add glue to two sides and make a pocket. Here I'm going to make a little seal closure for the envelope so that that top flap doesn't just flop open. I used one of the stickers from the sub box and mounted it on some of the yellow sticky paper. And then I'm going to mount that on a piece of cardstock just to give it some sturdiness. Then I'm just going to glue on the bottom of the little seal, and now the envelope can tuck into that. I'm going to start adding some of the ephemera from the sub box to the tuck spots and pockets. And I felt like the bottom corner of the tuck spot looked a little empty, so I'm going to tear a piece of the vellum from the sub box and create another little tuck spot on that page. And I'm just moving things around, testing out different looks and adding other elements. I decided to use one of the ephemera pieces to create another tuck. So I'm mounting it on black cardstock. Gonna slightly round the corners and glue it on two sides to make a tuck spot. Put the glue on the wrong two sides, had to remove it and do it again. It happens. Okay, so now I'm just again moving around some of the ephemera pieces. And I wanted to add something to the two flaps, so I added one of the labels from the sub box. And here I'm just adding a few of the little vellum ephemera pieces to the envelope. I wanted to do something to the base underneath the flaps, so I am adding a piece of vellum as a little tuck spot pocket there as well. And adding one of the labels. And here I'm going ahead and matting the spine area. I pulled some tags and journal cards from my stash that I'm going to be adding. So I'm adding the journal cards to the pockets, and I'm going to embellish the tags just a bit to add to the journal. I'm covering this tag with some paper from the sub box. And using the black Tombow marker, I'm coloring in the whole reinforcer and changing the color from brown to black. And then I'm repunching using my We Are Memory Keepers hole punch. And I'm going to use one of the stamps from the sub box just to add a little decorative element on the tag. So just figuring out where I want to place the tag. So I put it in the pocket. Here I'm going to work on the closure, and I'm using some ribbon that I believe I got on clearance from Hobby Lobby. And I'm going to use a bit of the packaging from the sub box to reinforce the spine because I want the spine to be a little stiffer than just the cardstock. Also, this is going to help hold the ribbon or trim closure in place. And I'm going to cover the packaging with a scrap of the paper. So now I'm going to use fabric tack to tack the ribbon or trim in place. And then I'm going to go in with the fabric tack and add the spine reinforcements. And this will be a traveler's notebook style journal. So I'm going to add 4 eyelets to the spine. I'm just cleaning up some of the glue and going ahead and punching the holes with my We Are Memory Keepers eyelet setter. And I'm setting the eyelets. And I'm using some elastic cord to create the strings for the notebooks. And this works out great because I have 2 spines and I can easily just string it through. And I'm just knotting the cord, trimming it up, and it is ready to add the notebooks. So here I'm going to start making the notebooks using cardstock for the cover. I'm using a black cardstock, and then I pull some random papers from my stash that I'm going to use to fill the notebooks. I'm also going to add a couple of pieces of vellum from the sub box in the notebooks. Then I'm going to trim everything down. And I'm just paper clipping the pages in place, and I'm going to use a stapler to bind it. So my stapler isn't long enough. I do have a long arm stapler, but in this case, I'm just going to open the stapler and use a garden kneeling mat, a piece of one that I have from Dollar Tree, to add the staples and then use my bone folder to close them. And I'm going to repeat that same process on the other notebook. Just trim up a little excess overhang and the notebooks are ready. Embellishing a little by covering up some of the text that was on one of the repurposed pages, and also using a few of the labels and pieces of ephemera from the sub box to add just a few decorative elements to the pages. I want them to have lots of writing room, but I did add just a few embellishments. I'm stamping with one of the stamps from the sub box. Just add a little something on the inside. And now I'm going to go ahead and put the notebooks on the elastic. So I found the center. Now I'm just sliding the notebook onto the elastic. And this is just kind of a spur of the moment thing that I did. I'd already done it off camera, but I'm just showing you here what I did. I took one of these Post-it notes, folded it in half, glued it together, and I used my corner chomper to chomp the corners and turn it into a label. Then I stamped with one of the stamps from the sub box, and I'm using that as a label on the cover of the two notebooks that I made. I'm also punching out floral pieces or floral die cuts that I'm going to add to the bank closure string. Then just trimming off the other piece of the string that was hanging off. And now I'm going to go ahead and glue on my sticky note labels. For the label on the front cover, I'm just using a piece of the scrap paper, folding it over, gluing it together, somewhat the same concept that I used with the sticky notes. And I have the label maker from Dollar Tree that I recently tested out on my other channel, SCRAPCRAFTASTIC. I'll link to that video in the iCard up above. I also use the Temu corner rounder to punch the corners of the scrapbook paper that I folded and glued. And now I'm just taking the label from the Dollar Tree label maker and adding it to my base label. Then I'm adding a brad to each corner to give it more of a book plate look. And I'm also adding some tape to those brads to hold them in place. And it also gives a little more sturdiness to the book plate. Adding Fabri-Tac to the back and gluing it in place. And this is the finished journal. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll holler at y'all next time. Bye.